to Hermosa, and I forget the name of the park we're staying at. Yeah, it looks like we're going to be setting up in the rain. There's the pizza place we were told to go to.
100 feet, turn right onto South Highway 7.
That was fast.
That was fast.
We're next to a gas station with diesel.
That's right.
We're far to fill up, will we? Heated pool and spa, it says, honey.
Good.
Again, please pull forward.
They got a Hunt Brothers pizza here too.
Hello.
Good. How are you?
We all just out riding around?
Yeah, exactly. With a trailer attached.
Okay. You checking in?
Yes.
That's a smart answer. I'm sorry. if you'll go around the building and park by the cones, and one of you come in, or both of you come in over here, and you can check in.
Okay. Awesome.
We're out here at the pool with the hot tub. We decided to try it out, and
Yeah.
it was very enjoyable.
Yeah, we did a little bit of night swimming and hot tubbing. It was great.
So this is what the pool area looks like. The pool here is open till 9:30 p.m.
And it's 9:30 right now. So, up until right now, which is at the end of August of 2025, we have been relying on cellular connections for our internet access. And just a little history of what we've done. We started, when we first started off, we used a company that provided us with access to the Verizon network. And that's just, I'm not going to mention the company's name, but let's just say there were some sketchy things that happened. And fortunately, we canceled our service with them before the issues that they were known for occurred. So then we started using a Verizon hotspot, and as well as we have our AT&T hotspot, and that's what we've been using for the last few years, are those two hotspots. Earlier this year, we actually switched over to Verizon Home 5G wireless internet, which has been great. But we're hearing some rumors in the blogs and in forums, etc., that Verizon's going to start cracking down on people who use that home internet remotely and roam around, which is what we do. So we were thinking, okay, we're going to need to do something to prevent us from losing our main internet, which is what we use Verizon for. We've been talking about getting Starlink for basically since we started. We just haven't ever done it because of the cost. But as we're now starting to do more boondocking, and we realized that the needing to be in range of a cellular network for me to be able to work is limiting where we can go, we decided to go ahead and bite the bullet and get Starlink. So our Starlink receiver arrived today, and this is an unboxing of the Starlink receiver. So this is, as of late August 2025, this is what it comes in. Is a box that looks like this. And boy, this is a strong. Oh, that didn't work very well, did it? So, like I said, this is going to allow us to be able to go and we can go do off-grid camping where we don't have to be around any cellular network. So it's going to open up a lot of new places for us to be able to explore and to share with you as we're roaming around the U.S. Open it. And here is the dish part of it. So this is what goes outside and receives the signals to and from the Starlink satellites. So we got the dish, and then we have an instruction tablet here on how to hook everything up. And then we have this module here, which is for the I guess it's like the wireless router. Oh good, it's got a place for Ethernet. Okay, so we've got that. And then we have electrical power for it, and then we have the cable that goes in between the dish and the wireless modem part. We'll find a more permanent way to do this. I just wanted to get it to where it's not, going to be the way I need to. So our current network works like this. We have a Verizon 5G home internet, which uses the Verizon 5G network, and it's worked great the whole time we've used it. The only reason why we're looking at replacing this is because of those rumors we've heard about Verizon cutting down on people taking this from place to place rather than staying in one location. We also have this Netgear Nighthawk hotspot for AT&T as our backup. And what I do is I have this network cable that goes into this router. Actually came from our house before we sold our house and went on the road. So what I do is whichever one has the better signal wherever we're at, I just plug our router into that and then use that. So that way I don't have to reprogram all of the TVs and whatever else uses the internet. It all just automatically works. So with this Starlink, this is probably going to replace all of this except for the AT&T hotspot, which we'll continue to use as a backup just in case. So there's the power hooked up. And then what I did is I unplugged the Verizon home internet, since this is going to be replacing that, and I'll just plug it into the place where we had the Verizon home internet. According to this, it says after all the cables are connected and the power is turned on, we should see light on the Starlink. Oh, I see a light. So I don't know if y'all can see this. There's a little flashing light right here. So it's probably trying to acquire the symbol, acquire the signal. So I'm gonna go ahead and do, my Starlink is plugged in. Okay, it says connect to Starlink Wi-Fi network in your device settings and come back. It may take 30 seconds to appear. And there's Starlink. All right, it may still be trying to acquire the satellite signal, so I'm just going to say not there. All right, so we're paired successfully. Your device is connected to Starlink. Next, let's get your Starlink connected to the internet to optimize your setup. Okay, and I do have a VPN turned on, so I'm going to turn this off. It says software update downloading. That's a good sign. It means it's connected and doing whatever it's supposed to do. So that's good.
You said what?
It says Starlink connected. It says that we were aligned and we don't need to move the dish any to get best signal. My first guess was good. Yay! All right, so now it's saying it's determining the location. Starlink is looking for GPS signal. This may take up to 15 minutes. And it's also doing a software update. All right, so we seem to be connected and we're getting good internet download speeds. And I think this is going to work pretty good. So we should be happy with this.
We're getting ready to head to Deadwood, South Dakota, and our plan is to take you guys on a tour of the town. We're hanging out with friends there, and then we will head to Devil's Tower, and we'll hopefully be able to take you guys on a tour to that, but we'll see. But ooh, getting the RV ready sometimes is a chore, isn't it? So my baskets usually stay up there, and I have museum putty at the top to hold those things down. And the Waggle has little suction cups. They stay down, and I've museum puttied the plant down. Everything else we have, you know how you have to do it. Get it up where it won't fall. And we're just waiting on Ryan outside. The dogs are ready to go. And so everything's cleared off the counter. I always forget to shut the little refrigerator down there. I don't know if you can see it. It's shut. But Ryan will come behind me and check just to make sure. I'm so forgetful. And I'm a team clean before we go. So I like to get there and, put everything away and just relax. So I don't want to clean when I get there. What are you guys? So you guys team clean before you go or team clean when you get there? And I love the sinks to put things in. And I'm so glad we have a extra sink over here that comes in really handy on the bar area. And there's Ryan.
Hey.
Are you done outside, hon?
Yeah, I think. We ready to pull the slides in?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
if you're done out there, then I'll clean up Rita's pads.
Okay. 6.
You happy? You happy, buddy? Rita, you happy to be here? Yeah, you're so sweet.
Whistler Gulch RV Park and Campground.
This is a look here, guys, at the park. Right in outside, well, we're right in Deadwood, South Dakota.
In the Black Hills.
That's not our puppy.
Okay.
That's in the Brinkley. That's a little puppy.
The walk from our friends is definitely a lot easier going from theirs to ours and ours to theirs.
Oh yeah, it's up a hill.
And going back to ours, it's downhill.
So they give you a space to park next to your site, which is nice.
This is the premium site, so that's why.
Yeah.
That's all we could get in here in the amount of time.
So yeah, not bad. Fire pit, tables.
Let me give you guys a little bit of an intro so we know where this town is coming from, and then we're going to go see it, of course, and explore that. 1868 is where I like to start. It's when the federal government will be signing the Fort Laramie Peace Treaty with the Sioux Nation to establish their territory, which was between the Bighorns in Wyoming and the Missouri River right here in the state. That's a promise of no settlement within that region, which means if we're here today, that's not what will happen in the long run. I bring this up because the treaty is still in effect through most of Deadwood's early history, and so we see that coming into play specifically in 1874 with Lieutenant Colonel Custer coming through with an expedition. He's got about 100 wagons and 1,000 men traveling through the southern Black Hills and confirming the presence of gold there in the process, which is obviously a big deal as they quickly spread the news across the nation. Newspaper headlines read, "Gold in them thar hills." They're arriving where we're sitting in 1876. And so that summer, we find large deposits of gold in the soil, and Deadwood's first camp quickly grows around that. So we'll be going over those details here for you guys. Sandra is going to get this bus on and rolling, and we are going to talk about different structures and locations along the way. So the first one we'll mention is going to be here on the left-hand side of the bus, the Iron Horse Inn. This has got your distinct Victorian-era architecture style. Honestly, my favorite one in town here. And an interesting feature on it is just above the doorway, the middle archway, there's a horse head carved into the stone. You only find that marker on an official livery stable, noting where the entrance is to bring your horse in at the time. Well, this will mean many other things besides the stable. It's a feed store, a hardware store, a post office, and a library, and then eventually the hotel you guys are looking at today. Now, this is one of the last sandstone buildings left in Deadwood, which isn't that remarkable to begin with because everything was made of sandstone at the time. But it is a soft material, doesn't weather very well, and so they move away from it, leaving the couple here today to be pretty unique structures. Adams Museum on the corner. This is built in 1930 by W.E. Adams. He's a wealthy merchant who likes collecting historic artifacts, so he will build this to home those things and donate it to the city later. If you guys visit today, you find things like Wild Bill's possessions or Calamity Jane's. You also find Potato Creek Johnny's Gold Nugget on display. That's the largest one found in the Black Hills. Straight ahead, we're passing under the archway here. It's welcoming you guys to historic Main Street. It's not going to look a lot like our first camp. It would have been a dirt street surrounded by wooden shacks and canvas tents. It's narrow, windy, very muddy, heavily trafficked, full of temporary things that are going to change eventually with the fire of 1879. We're going to go into that here momentarily, folks. Actually going to get caught up here because they're having a shootout on the street right now.
Jump.
So this was the first of 3 shootouts that they do for the day, folks. If you guys are still around in town at 4 o'clock, that's when the second one happens, and it'll happen halfway down Main Street. That's my favorite one, particularly. It's got the most gunshots, so I would recommend being around to see that one. This particular story, if you didn't hear, I know the audio is a little rough back here, is about David Lentz getting shot in the head. That actually happens during an altercation where some men are just in the bar having a drink, having a good time, but somebody else comes in and starts to cause trouble, threatening men at the table. The marshal attempts to escort him out, but fails to keep him from drawing his revolver, and he will shoot David Lentz across the table in the middle of the forehead. David lives for the next 67 days, walking around Deadwood's camp like normal, like nothing ever happened. Only dies after laying down to take a nap, and they find out the wound had started to abscess in his head. So pretty crazy scenario, but this is a true story sourced from our newspaper, Black Hills Pioneer newspaper in 1877. It's built in 1903. When they opened their doors that year, they have multiple restaurants, a newsstand, barber shop, haberdashery, a masseuse, even a telephone in every room at that time. So this is the lap of luxury in this town. Brings in a lot of celebrity guests over time, like Buffalo Bill Cody staying here, or Presidents Roosevelt and Taft, and later on country music stars like Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, and even Dolly Parton, just to name a few. Looking over to the left-hand side, you guys can see the Scott Jacobs studio across the street here. There's a placard at the top of that building you might see that says Goldberg. Goldberg's Grocery used to stand here in 1876, and that'll be the historic location on this street where Jack McCall is captured after killing Wild Bill Hickock. That here to the left-hand side where you can see Gold Street, little side street stretching back. It sourced 28,000 ounces of gold from this location. So that's what officially gets this town started, and it brings in a lot of different people. You don't have to be a miner to make it here. For instance, when Seth Bullock came to town, it was to build a hardware store. He essentially made his fortune mining the miners at that time because he keeps them supplied, which does him well enough that he'll use that money later to replace the hardware store with the Bullock Hotel you'll see to your right here. Bullock's also Deadwood's first sheriff, and he establishes law to this town. He is also giving us a nickname for downtown Deadwood, calling it the Badlands District, and that's where we're headed. It would have been home to the unsavory characters, acts, and professions of the time, including the Saloon number 10. So as we enter this section, there's going to be a banner on the left side of the street that'll state original location of the Saloon 10, because this is the historic site where Wild Bill Hickock was shot and killed. It's not the Saloon 10 today. We lost that original Saloon 10 in the fire, and it's never rebuilt in this spot. Other things are put there over the years, such as the Wild Bill Bar sitting on that location now. We'll revisit his story up at the cemetery, because currently we're coming into the red light district. So you're going to keep looking left, because we've got the Green Door Brothel. Second story is where you found the women at the time. There were 4 brothels in this location for over 100 years, closing in 1980. That's after being raided by the federal government. And they arrested 16 women at that time. One of them was Pam Holiday. She went on the Phil Donahue show, so on live television, protesting the closure here, saying it's bad for business here in Deadwood. Doesn't change a thing. She still ends up in federal prison. She'll even be fined about $5,000 for income tax evasion as well. Now, you guys could tour the brothels here, and I'd highly recommend that tour. It's on the left side of the street as well. You might see the doorway beneath the blue sign there. So that goes up to the second story of those buildings. They've recreated the staterooms in the many different fashions they'll represent over the years. And this goes into a lot more historical depth and detail than just the obvious things. Now, from this point to the end of the street is where you would have found Chinatown. There's about 200 originally setting up camp here. They're running restaurants, laundries, tea houses, and opium dens as well. Now, you'll probably hear me refer to this town as Deadwood Gulch more than once, because that is officially the formation this town is built inside of. You can't have a gulch without a stream. Down below us on the right-hand side here is going to be Whitewood Creek. So this creek is responsible for forming the gulch over many years by flowing through the area. And in that time, it's also knocking the gold loose and spreading it out through the soil. That is what the pioneers will discover when they get here. They can easily see and find that gold with the naked eye alone. It's called placer gold, and it's the easiest form of mining this town sees, mainly just reliant on gold panning techniques. Now, our 2 historic locations on Main were once again where the Saloon 10 used to be and where Jack McCall, who killed Wild Bill in the Saloon 10, was captured. Those locations are 2 blocks away, which means he didn't make it very far. Jack, after killing Wild Bill, steals a horse outside of the Saloon 10, attempting to flee, but only makes it that far because he forgets to check the cinch on the saddle. So it rolls to the side and dumps him in the dirt. So that means he's captured and put on trial the next day, and Deadwood finds him not guilty. It's because he gave the defense that Wild Bill had killed his brother. And so with that motive, he is set free and will not step foot in this town again. We're going to recapture Jack McCall months later, boasting of killing Wild Bill while in a saloon in Wyoming. He's going to be tried again in federal court, and this time he is found guilty, and it's because they discover he only had sisters in the first place.
Oh, wow.
So his original defense doesn't make it very far. And so he's going to be sentenced to hang, which back then is a public event. You actually find over 2,000 people in attendance at his hanging. He'll be buried in an unmarked grave afterwards, where they even left the dead man's noose tied around his neck. Which is like adding insult to injury, they say, because you'd never bury good rope in the first place. Now, most people want to know, why did Jack kill Wild Bill Hickock? Essentially, today, folks, you are not going to get an answer to that question. Officially, we cannot prove any speculations that exist, but we can't disprove any of them either. So believe whatever you want is essentially where we're at this point. Now, approaching on the right-hand side here is this large tan brick building that we're coming next to. It's the first courthouse in Deadwood. Today it's the post office, and it coincidentally sits where the first outpost for the Pony Express is going to be in this town. So that was the equivalent back then, and I would say it was pretty efficient as well. They can actually get a letter from here to Fort Laramie in less than 2 days on horseback, which is about 300 miles one way. They're only charging 50 cents a letter to do this, so might be better than today's post office. Pony Express is also advertising that they only hire orphan children as trail riders, because they're small and lightweight and not considered much of a burden for that horse, and nobody is going to miss them in the first place, they claim. It's a pretty sad reality, and they did take advantage of it for a couple of years. Wow. You guys will see a number of those historic homes as we head up this hill here. They got some strict guidelines for preserving them. My favorite is they have to be painted original colors. So it does lead to some pretty cool themes and patterns you guys will see. Now, Sandra's turning this corner, and we're going to head up this steep hill. At the top of this hill is where you find the cemetery, folks. It's a pretty odd location, really. But it isn't the first cemetery in this town. Our original cemetery they called Ingleside, and it actually sat to the left-hand side, just about where you might see this empty grass lot on the street corner. It was only in this location for about 2 years, and that's just due to the fact the town is growing so quickly and encroaching on that area, so they chose to move it. They exhumed 100 bodies from that location and took all those remains to the top of the hill, establishing Mount Moriah in 1878. So, that means Wild Bill Hickock, he's been buried twice because of that cemetery move. Now, you may also hear our cemetery called Boot Hill. That's a common term for Western cemeteries, because the statement was the pioneers are dying with their boots on. It is just the nice way of saying they aren't dying from natural causes. So your top 2 causes of death were getting shot or killed by illness or disease. There's a lot of records stating different ways you could have seen that happen. From shot by sheriff, shot by stagecoach robbers, shot during bar fight or gunfight. You even see accounts of shot by wife as well, believe it or not. Illnesses, those will be things like smallpox, influenza, scarlet fever, or even hobnail liver, which is pretty much the same as alcohol poisoning. Now, Sandra is going to squeeze us through these gates up here, so we're going to head into the cemetery and go visit Wild Bill Hickock's grave. There's about 3,600 people buried in this cemetery today. Pretty large cemetery for our town. And it is technically considered closed. So no public burials are happening here anymore. The only exception is if any of these family plots up here still have room, they would still be allowed to use it. Most of them are full, so we don't see it too often. The last one to happen here was 2018. Still pretty recent compared to how old the majority of these graves are. You guys are going to end up seeing a lot of retaining walls through this cemetery. You can probably imagine a cemetery on a hill was not a good idea. Erosion's a big problem here. Consistent maintenance is happening here year round to keep these graves in their original location because they have moved before. Most of these graves weren't even dug deeper than 3 feet, just due to how much rock is found beneath that thin layer of topsoil here. All right, we're going to be coming up on Wild Bill's grave site. So that's going to be approaching on the right-hand side of the bus. You'll see some black fencing with the bust of his head behind it. That is where he's buried today, along with Calamity Jane and Potato Creek Johnny. We have the option to go up to this section there. You see the black ring. In the saloon. So we would be looking to play cards, but the only chair left had its back facing the door. To begin with, he would refuse to sit there and argue with other men trying to get the game to change or move around.
Whoops.
This man eventually sells the gold nugget directly to the Adams Museum. He's going to get a grand total of $250 for it. It weighs 7 3/4 ounces. That's the equivalent price in 1934. It's changed a little today. Last I had checked, it was closer to $3,400 an ounce. So I'll let you guys do the math on that one. On the left-hand side, you guys got a great view of Deadwood Gulch down below us. And, of course, Main Street stretching through it. They produced close to $4 million worth of placer gold from anything you can really see here. For that type of mining, it is a pretty big number. But in the grand picture of things, it's not that much. Most of our gold production ends up coming through the Homestake mine, which is something I'll revisit for you guys when we're exiting the cemetery. From here, I like pointing out Mount Roosevelt. You find that by looking directly across the gulch. The mountains across the way in the sunshine kind of come to a V, and it's the mountain in the middle of that V. So Mount Roosevelt's named after Theodore Roosevelt. It's got a nice hike that goes to the top where you would find a large tower called Friendship Tower. It used to be completely visible from this spot, but the pine trees are hiding it today. And it was built like that on purpose because Seth Bullock built it after Roosevelt died to honor their years of friendship, and then later would request that he himself is buried at the highest point in this cemetery so he could look across the way and see his friend. Would end up requesting their own area for burials just due to how large their population was at that point in time. You guys up top here can already see it because it's straight ahead. There's a white structure down below on the hill there. And most of you guys on the bottom are going to see it better from the left once we complete this turn because, again, it's going to be kind of down on the hillside. The white structure, replica of a ceremonial burner, burning things during funerals like incense, clothing, food, or even money. Anything they considered essential to take to the afterlife. Now, most of this section's empty. There's officially only 3 grave sites here today, but there used to be over 30. So their families actually requested that their remains would be sent back to China, as their culture values being buried where you're born and with your ancestors. And so someone comes in later to exhume all those remains, and then will ship them overseas to each respected family. Group of white headstones to the left are all identical here with the cross in front. That's a group of Civil War veterans, specifically cavalry members. There's about 79 veterans buried in this cemetery, including Preacher Smith, who is Deadwood's first preacher. His plaque's appearing here to the left, but it's farther back on the hill. When he first came to town, he claimed he's not here for gold, he's here to save souls, and is often just preaching from the street to anybody walking by. He's pretty well received here, preaches at different events and ceremonies, goes on to different towns and camps as well. But he's also cautioned to not leave Deadwood multiple times, and that's due to the warring with the Sioux Nation with the treaty in violation. Now, doesn't really stop him. He'll continue traveling to share the gospel, even heading to a small camp called Crook City, not that far out of Deadwood city limits. Nobody would see him arrive. As they go to find him, they'll discover he's been ambushed and murdered on the trail. They did blame Indians for his death at that point, but they'd never have the evidence to support that claim over time, and they did record how his body was found. He only had a single gunshot wound to his chest. All of his belongings were still with him, and they don't find any other injuries on his body as well. So this was a highly unusual case. It is still considered an unsolved murder to this day. Most of the speculations over the years are that it would have been a Deadwood local that killed him. And this is also due to the fact that they say his schedule was posted in town, so therefore anybody reading it would know where to find him and when, as he's looking to make sure you know where to hear the gospel. Unfortunately, they say someone could be using that against him. You should see a singular structure out there on the horizon as well. Kind of stands out by itself. That is the elevator shaft for the Homestake mine. That elevator goes 6,400 feet beneath the surface, and then you'd hop onto a secondary one to get to the lowest point, which is 8,000 feet down. I'm going to point out two homes before we leave this section. Just coming up on the right is a home with purple trim on the windows and all the vines on the front porch here. This is the first home built and lived in by Adams, our museum builder. It's the nice little bed and breakfast today, but he will go on to build numerous other homes because he makes his wealth here as the first wholesale grocer to this town. He can even end up purchasing his last home, which is the Adams house. We're going to see that diagonally to the left here. It's pretty hard to miss with its distinct Victorian architecture. 1920 is when he purchased that home and moved in. 2 years later is when he's unfortunately losing his wife to an illness. In the same time frame, he'd be losing his daughter and granddaughter in childbirth. So tragically, all of his family's gone in an instant. But the next year, while he's visiting their grave sites, he ends up meeting his next wife on the train ride there. This parking garage we're coming back next to has their photos on the end of it. They say one of them's very handsome for their time. I'll let you guys make the decision which one you think it is. You wouldn't be alone if you thought it was two men on that wall, because her descriptions varied greatly, but a lot of them are stating she's too ugly or too masculine, and just as many even say she's very beautiful. You can find picture evidence for all of those things, which I would say speaks to her versatility that she's remembered for. That's that long one behind the parking lot. That's our historic railroad depot. It's the same one that sees the arrival of Calamity Jane in 1903. And the road we're on right now would have been the tracks that came into that station at the time. This is a lifeline for this town, keeping it supplied and accessible from 1890 all the way into the 30s. My favorite thing about this building is its roof. It's made of slate shingles. You don't actually see that out here too often. It'll need to be restored at some point. When they did it, they sourced the same slate used in the original to create the copy you guys see today, which means that is only the second roof that it's had. It's a great testament to the city's intentions for historic preservation, which hopefully mean this building and many others are going to be here for many more years to come. That's round trip, so give Sandra a second here. She's going to get us parked. We'll let you guys go. thank you guys on behalf of Ryan Deadwood for hopping on board with us this dreary afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your time here in town. Enjoy the rest of your time traveling through the Black Hills. Stay safe. And just watch your step as you guys come on down. Thank you.